So sorry about that. So starting with an executive summary, the victim is Windows Workstation Desktop 3GJL3PV at IP 172.16.1.137 with a pcap workshop.net domain, and it captured spam around like about 2 minutes to 232, roughly 31 minutes of activity, looking at the four key metrics, which are four malware download plus initial dropper from Stilac and Kukrar archives in both 32 and 64-bit version, along with a clienty.zip dropper. The attacker used 10 different C2 server IPs in a fast flux rotation pattern. We observed 32 beacon requests, 27 get from task pooling, 6 post from data exfiltration, and there were 30 NTLM SSP authentication events, both to external attacker controlled SMB server and the domain controller for the lateral movement. Now move into the attack timeline. The attack key phases was around 31 minutes. On the left hand side, it shows the initial dropper client zip was downloaded from yonapromo.com, and this was likely delivered through the phishing is triggered the everything that follows. And after 30 seconds later, the malware initiated NTLM relay attacks, which is establishing full NTLM SP handshakes to external SMB server. The attacker harvesting Windows credential for offline cracking, and the hash attacks. The LDAP enumeration began against the domain controller, querying the object class name, the standard AD. Then the C2 beginning started with a Drew URL at 62.173.40.103, 3 rapid gets in 2 seconds and initial check-in. And on the right hand side, the first malware pair was downloaded, Stilac32.rar and Stilac64.rar from 62.173.149.243, trolling 800 kilobytes of Infostellar malware. And the data exfiltration began at the 6 post required primary C2, and the 4 main consecutive are the one apart. And the second malware arrived at the cookie 32 rar and 64 rar, same another 800 byte, bringing the total malware download to around 1.6 megabyte. The sustained C2 beaconing settled in 60 seconds interval across the 10 IPs. Meanwhile, the Kerberos TGT request and 6 automated NTLM sessions to the DC at the exact 30-second intervals indicated a scripted lateral movement. Now move on to the network environment host. The victim workstation was 172.16.1.37. Domain controller was pcap workshop.dc. And the 4 malicious external hosts are the malware downloaded server, which are NTLM relay target, and the primary C2 server, the dropper host, unpremo.com. The host highlighted in a red are malicious infrastructure. On the right hand side, the malware payload table, where it first says the client.zip dropper from unapromo.com. There are 4 rar archives from 62.173.49.243, Stilac 32 and Stilac 64, which are known as InfoStealers, and Cook 32, Cook 64 are the second malware pair. And it uses the same dual architecture deployment strategy targeting both 62 and 64-bit systems. And all the malware HTTP request use a legacy Internet Explorer and 8 user agent string, the common evasion technique to blend older system traffic. This slide details about the C2 infrastructure on the left, the beacon statistics. The 32 total beacon using the Drew path prefix with a heavy URL encoded segments. The dominant interval was approximately 60 seconds, accounting 59% of measured interval. The minimum interval was just a second, busting the minimum 209. On the right, the IP rotation table shows the 10 C2 server, primarily server at the and receiving the 9 requests, including 6 post exfiltration, and the remaining 9 IPs each receive 2 to 4 beacon requests in the rotating pattern. This rotating across the multiple server is the hallmark of fast flux infrastructure and also known as bulletproof hosting, which makes takedowns then extremely difficult because if one server is blocked, the other continues operating. Let's move on the left. On the left, the NTLM credential relay details. The malware performed the three-step NTLM handshakes to external server on port 445. Step 1 is to negotiate with the capability flag. Step 2 is the server sends back a random 8-bit known as a challenge, and step 3 is the client responds to the NTLM v2 hash credential. This session occurred at 4 different time steps indicating the repeated relay attempts. The purpose is to capture the credential for offline cracking and password hashes attack. On the right hand side, the lateral movement targeting the domain controller using the 6 different protocols, LDAP with 334 packets of AD enumeration, then Kerberos attack including TGT request which raises the golden ticket risk, and SMB with 3026 packet, net bias, and also the 6 sessions at the exactly 30 seconds each, automated scripted, and there are MSRPC with 102 packets, and also 6 post requests to the primary C2 using a chunked uploaded of stolen credential data. So for the producibility, here is the key.